Welcome back to our show. We're going to be talking now about last week's gubernatorial debate between Lieutenant Governor Spencer Cox and former Democratic Congressman Jim Matheson. Now let's go ahead and dive right into the facts. Spencer Cox and Jim Matheson started their debate off guns a-blazing, talking about gun right issues here in the state of Utah and about Jim Matheson's voting record while in Congress on gun right issues. We looked into that further to see if Spencer Cox had some validity to his claims that Jim Matheson didn't support gun rights, and we found that he tended to be very supportive of gun rights issues consistently throughout his career. Starting in 2003, he scored a B+ with the National Rifle Association, and then ending his time in Congress, he ended with an A rating by the NRA. And consistently voted for things such as in 2003 and in 2005 on helping gun makers not face any sort of liability for the misuse of their products. Talked about a national cross-state standard for concealed carry permits, allowing veterans to register unlicensed guns acquired abroad, and even teaching kids gun safety rights and issues in schools. And as well banning gun registration and trigger lock laws in Washington, D.C.
On the topic of air quality, Cox failed to give concrete solutions and actions that he would take to increase and better our air quality in the state. Cox mentioned working on being idle-free as a way to better our air quality. Although in 2006, the idle-free campaign began, and since then, we have continuously scored Fs, according to the American Lung Association, when it comes to our air quality. In the debate, Matheson suggested using more environmentally friendly vehicles and gas-efficient vehicles and giving benefits to those citizens who use them.
Now, there was a lot of talk about Utahns being qualified or having enough education. And a lot of the research that has been done on the issue and a lot of the information that's out there does heavily support things that Jim Matheson said in regards to improving education to help people get better jobs. And that Utah jobs are struggling a little bit. A research report in 2015 by the Utah Foundation, a nonprofit organization that researches policy issues here in Utah, said that the most common limiting factor to company growth and job growth was a limited labor pool of qualified and experienced workers, whether that was because of education, just readily availability. Nearly 1/3 of the 151 companies that they talked with said that was the main factor impeding their growth here in Utah, and therefore causing them to not want to bring as many jobs into Utah because they didn't have as many qualified workers. In another instance, too, Jim Matheson made a claim that a lot of the jobs in Utah were low-skilled, that they were underemploying Utahns across the state. And according to the U.S. Census, Utah and Davis counties were among the top 10 counties in job growth between 2014 and 2015. However, the industries that grew the most were trade, utilities, and transportation, all low-skill, low-paid, low-education jobs. And that was more than half of Utahns. And in fact, all the people that were in those jobs and all the industries in general saw lower wages. Overall, half of all employed Utahns currently work in industries with median wages less than $35,000 a year, according to the Department of Workforce Services here in Utah. Now, that definitely doesn't reflect well on the job situation here in Utah, and it shows that a lot of Utahns are, in fact, underemployed. And on average, he claimed Utahns were making $7,000 more a year than other Americans. But we found that this was from a less credible source. The source that we were able to find that statistic on was a website called the departmentofnumbers.com, which was, to say the least, not very credible. On the bottom of the web page, which is just run by a single contributor, he claims there's no warranty or guarantee of accuracy that's offered or implied on his website. So the source wasn't super credible for that claim, and it does seem to support, even further that Jim Matheson was right on a lot of Utah's employment issues.
Education in the state of Utah has never been the best. In 2012, Utah was ranked 42 in the nation, 2011, 41, and in 2013, number 38. Those numbers are not very good. The plan to increase taxes by a small percentage was eagerly turned down by Cox, even though the citizens were very supportive of a tax increase if it was going into education. Cox is not going along with what the citizens would like for their state, but he wants to increase conservation and give more options, which he wasn't detailed in. Funding is necessary for education, and the waste can be dealt with, but we need money in order to increase our education.
The debate on infrastructure spending here in Utah, Jim Matheson accused Spencer Cox and the current incumbent administration of playing ball with the highest bidder when it came to infrastructure road projects. And looking into that, we did find some surprising instances where Governor Herbert, Spencer Cox, and the current administration did seem to cozy up to the highest bidder, the highest donators to their campaigns. In an audio recording that was released earlier in 2006, the beginning of the year, Governor Herbert, his campaign staff, and more than 24 lobbyists and supporters met to talk about campaign contributions. In this conversation that was had with Governor Herbert and some of these lobbyists, a lot of concern was actually raised from some of the lobbyists about Governor Herbert's willingness to play ball with the highest bidder. As he said, however you would like to do it, in reference to donations to his campaign, that he was available Jones, ready to make any time and any situation work when it came to donations. Now, Available Jones is a reference to a 1950s comic strip called Little Abner. And the character Available Jones in that comic strip was infamous for doing anything to make a buck. And that's all the time we have now for the gubernatorial debate. And when we come back from our break, the 2020 election, will Donald Trump take it for another victory, or will LeBron swoop in and take it away? Join us back after these messages.